Good morning, gang. This is Mike at TTK Small Engine Repair out here on this fine, beautiful morning. Happy Independence Day to everybody. Be careful out there driving, folks. Bring them home safe. Anyway, we're located at 54398 County Road 657, Paw Paw, Michigan. That's 10 minutes out of Lawton, Mattawan, and Paw Paw. A few things going on today. Even though it's Saturday. Waiting on parts on that mower. Already worked on that chainsaw. Don't have decent compression on that thing. We finished my snowblower yesterday, and I'm waiting on some parts for those steel chainsaws. But today I wanted to discuss chainsaw chains, and I also decided to put an image out here, because most people don't understand the different portions of the cutting tooth. And for example, this portion here, the depth gauge, sometimes called a raker, gullet, your corner or lead edge, and then obviously your top plate, and it shows the clearance, etc. We go to a lot of trouble of trying to produce the best and sharpest chain that we can. And so it's always important to know the purpose of your chain. Now I'm working on this chain right here for Hinkle's Tree Service out of Minden, Michigan. Now one of the things he's always talking to me about, if I can get a good picture in there, is the cutting edge or the beak. This is the first part of the, let me grab something different here. See if this will help. But that beak, that's not even good. Let me grab something different that we can see with and give you an idea. Anyway, Matt is always talking to me about the bird's beak. And if you look at the shape of that cutting tooth, it looks just like a beak on a bird. And that is the first point of contact when you're cutting wood. Then obviously you get down here, roll my chain forward. Then you got your side cutting plate, which is this section right across here. So it's vital that, number one, I get that bird's beak, but that side plate as sharp as possible. And then if you remember the picture, the gullet, we want to keep that gullet area cleaned out and leveled off as much as possible so that our chips roll right off from that tooth. Now, this chain I've already sharpened, and that's a nice looking cut across there. Now one of the things I use in Oregon, what is this one? This is a 620. Now, unlike this Oregon, you see the rocker switch right here? This is one-way direction. I had Kalamazoo Electric install a two-way switch for me, so I got forward and reverse. Before, when I was cutting this tooth and this tooth, the wheel was cutting one direction, and for the outer tooth that was fine because it was cutting inward, but for the outer tooth here, it was leaving burrs on that cutting tooth, which means I'm not getting that tooth as sharp as I can. So now I can cut both these teeth identically. And as you can see, I'm cutting at a 30-degree angle here in order to develop and have the proper cutting tip on that. And then if you got an Oregon, make sure you're using this. I gotta figure out which tooth I'm on. But we're working on what I'm going to call the left side of the tip, or the left cutting tooth if you're standing behind that saw. And I move my plate out 10 degrees. Now when I'm doing the right side cutting edge, this one, I move it in 10 degrees. I found in 2 years of using this Oregon, this has given me the best cut possible. If you've got this set at 0, which I've seen many of them do, you're dropping that grinding stone straight down on this tooth. Now, one of the other things I got is this little chart. And it shows file position of about 10%. That applies to using a chain grinder as well. You want this grinding stone coming in the perfect position on that cutting tooth, or you're not going to get a long-lasting cut on your chain. So I just wanted to go over this today because I've seen a lot of Oregon videos and nobody ever talks about this. Like I said, if you're standing behind the saw, I'm going to call that my left tooth, cutting tooth. I set my degrees at 10. The right side, if you're standing behind the saw, the cutting tooth, I'll move it over here to 10. Very seldom do you drop that grinder down, straight down on top of that tooth. And I run a 55 degree cutting angle so that I'm coming in underneath that tooth, and if I can get and you can see where I'm at. That's a nice cut. On the side of your machine you also have a stop. That way you don't drive it too far into the gullet or into your chain links here. So utilize it. It takes a little bit of practice, and I'm still working on mine. I'm by no means an expert. My smaller chains, for example, you can see that. Those particular chains, I will change my degree to 60 degrees because it's not as big of a tooth. And if I'm coming up underneath that cutting tooth too far, because these are smaller teeth, I run the risk of those bending, deforming relatively quickly, and or not staying sharp. So for those using the Oregon grinder, make sure you've got the right degrees. And remember, if you've got this little package, file position, it's hard for you to see, but I'll roll through here. You can pause the camera. It gives you the different size chain, all the information that you need, and the angles that you need, as well as cutting your raker and everything else. So if it calls for a 10 degree filing angle or filing position on your grinder, that's referencing this. And as you can see, again, I've got that 10 degrees. So I'll slow this down a little bit. That's not the best picture, but I'll try to get that in a little bit clearer focus for you. And that gives you an idea. You can read at the top, pitch gauge, file size, sharpening angle, file position, and depth gauge or raker. I'll just roll right down through here so you can see that. And again, know your tooth. Know the purposes of them. That cutting edge, or what they're calling the lead edge on that cutter tooth, you want that looking like a bird's beak. That is the first thing that's going to hit that wood and start the cut. And then we're going to catch right here. And then your top plate will cut as well. But this corner and that side plate are vital. Keeping that gullet clean. And when I say cleaned, I use a Dremel with a file on it, or with a small grinding stone, get it into picture here. And I'll just lay that in here. I do this before I even sharpen the tooth. I'll grind that gullet out and smooth that gullet out before I even sharpen the tooth. That way it's all done when I'm done. The only thing I got left to do now, once I've ground that gullet down and sharpen my tooth, I've got to hit that raker or depth gauge and make sure that we're giving them the best possible cut we can. But anyway, gang, that's all I've got this morning. But I know there's a lot of chain sharpeners out there, a lot of do-it-yourselfers that are trying to buy machines. I'm going to tell you, cheap machines don't work. This Oregon, I can't remember what I paid for it. I think it was a little over $400, but by the time I got the correct stones that I needed, it had the forward reverse switch put in it, I probably got $600 wrapped up into this unit with the stand. And I like standing when I'm grinding my chains. Now this, I think this is a 520, which it is. I use this pretty much strictly for doing my rakers or depth gauges, as well as grinding down those gullets so those are smooth and aren't allowing your wood chips, etc., to hang up, build up inside that cutting tooth. Because you want once you start making that cut, you want that sawdust to slide right off that cutting tooth, right out the back of your saw. And that's our ultimate goal. So that's all we've got today. But if you have any questions or concerns, don't hesitate to give me a call at 731-298-1702. As well, remember, we do take used equipment. So if you've got any you're throwing away or want to dispose of or whatever, hey, give it to us. We can use it for parts, etc., and save somebody else down the road some money. Just a reminder, we are working on zero turns and riding lawnmowers. We do just general maintenance on those belts, tune-ups, oil changes, etc. I do not do engine rebuilds out of this shop. It's just too dirty of an environment to open up an engine or drivetrain on your mowers. But if you need tune-ups, belts, oil changes on your riding lawnmowers, zero turns, blades sharpened, blades replaced, we're the people to call. Or I should say, I'm the guy to call because I'm the only one here. I don't see any other people in my shop. But anyway, so remember, zero turns and riding lawnmowers. We have expanded our services this year to do those as well. And we look forward to continuing to provide you with the best possible service we can in our little communities here. So on that note, I think that's pretty much all we've got. We're getting ready for a little get-together tonight. And we had my wife got a picture of the deer this morning. That's a mulberry tree standing next to that silo. We had 2 doe and a small buck out there this morning eating the mulberries, so that was kind of cool to see. We're hoping for more rain, but I'm not taking any chances. I got the sprinkler going on my beans and blueberry bushes just to be safe. Say hi, Marcia.
Hello.
Say hi to Sean, Marcia.
Hi, Sean.
Tell him you got people in the video now.
Yeah, you got proof for a video, and you guys better show up tonight.
Anyway, Kaya's in the house. On that note, we're going to let you go. Again, our phone number is 731-298-1702. Everybody, God bless. Be safe out there this weekend. Take care. Bye-bye.